good to see you today. It is April 21st. Our reading comes from the book of 2 Samuel. In 2 Samuel chapter 3, yesterday we spoke about the account as David is anointed king and Ishbosheth is taken by Abner and made king over Israel. A little bit of a civil war going on, but we mentioned in passing in chapter 3, Abner's going to join David. So let's take a look at it and let's kind of see how that happens. Verse 1, Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, but David grew stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. Talks about the sons that were born to David. Then down in verse 6 is actually where our reading starts today. There was war between the house of Saul and the house of David. Abner was strengthening his hold on the house of Saul. You might notice that Abner is strengthening his hold. Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah. Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why have you gone into my father's concubine?" Abner became very angry at the words of Ishbosheth and said, "Am I a dog's head that belongs to Judah? Today I show loyalty to the house of Saul your father, to his brothers, friends, and have not delivered you into the hand of David. And you charge me with a fault concerning this woman. May God do so to Abner, and more also, if I do not do for David, as the Lord has sworn to him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul, and set up the throne of David over Israel, and for Judah from Dan to Beersheba." And so you see that Abner is insulted because Abner has gone into Saul's concubine, one of Saul's concubines, and Ishbosheth calls him out on it. And Abner basically says, "Who do you think you are to talk to me like that?" Abner was strengthening his hold on the house. Ishbosheth is the one who was made king by Abner, but you can tell who wears the pants in the family, so to speak. And Ishbosheth says, "Who do you think you are?" But then he starts talking about, and he says that he's going to turn everything over to David like God had sworn to him. Verse 9, Abner mentions that. It's like, well, what are you doing backing Ishbosheth for then? He could not answer Abner. Ishbosheth couldn't because he feared him. So Abner sends messengers to David and seeks peace, wants to make a covenant. And it's the account where David says, "On one condition, give me my wife Michal." You can read about that. It's an interesting account. So Abner shows up. Him and David reconcile, so to speak, I guess. But then Joab shows up. And Joab was not there when David sent him away in peace in verse 22. Joab shows up, and Joab says, "What are you doing?" And Joab is going to end up catching up with Abner as Abner leaves in peace. And Joab's effectively going to say, "Let me talk to you privately here for a second," and he's going to kill him right there on the spot. And then David mourns for Abner. Our reading also goes to chapter 4, and chapter 4 is another account of vengeance. As Saul's son, Ishbosheth, heard that Abner had died in Hebron, he lost heart, all Israel's troubled. Now Saul had two men. Notice that these are Saul's men who were captains of troops, these two individuals, and they're going to go in, and this is also the account where we're introduced to Mephibosheth. This is where we read about how Mephibosheth became lame. But these two men are going to come in to Ishbosheth's house, and they're going to murder him while he's asleep and relaxing. He's lying on his bed in the bedroom, and they strike him, and they kill him, and they behead him, and they bring his head to David, and David says, basically, "Why did you do that?" And David's going to order these men executed because they did something that David did not want them to do. They thought they were going to be pleasing to David, and David says what he says. Verse 11, "How much more then when wicked men have killed a righteous person in his own house on his bed?" Therefore shall I not now require this blood at your hand and remove you from the earth. And that's what David did in order to... Okay, let's back up to Joab. Joab killing Abner. And let's look at it. Let's see. Verse 26. When Joab had gone from David's presence, he sent messengers after Abner, who brought him back from the wall of Sirah, but David did not know it. Now when Abner had returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him privately, and there stabbed him in the stomach so that he died for the blood of Asahel, his brother. Afterward, when David heard it, he said, My kingdom and I are guiltless before the Lord forever, because of the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house. Let there never fail to be in the house of Joab one who has a discharge or is a leper, who leans on a staff or falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. And a little later in the account, look what David says. Verse 38, Do you not know that a prince and a great man has fallen this day in Israel? And I am weak today, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too harsh for me. The Lord shall repay the evildoer according to his wickedness. He's talking about Joab, and the one with Joab. But as we think about the account, why would you kill Abner? Abner comes to David ready to make peace and to turn the rest of the kingdom over to David like God wanted. Joab's not there, and Joab comes back after David has sent him away in peace. And Joab does what he does. Why are you going to kill Abner? Well, one reason I wanted to read that passage is that you can see this is personal for Joab. It specifically says Joab killed Abner because Abner had killed Joab's brother. This is personal. This isn't state business. This isn't. This is personal. And a lot of times when vengeance is taken, and we recognize what is said in the New Testament, those who hate their brother, they're murderers and liars. And it's personal a lot of times. And that's how it is. In debate, I remember on the podcast here recently that Andrew and I do, and we were talking about in debate, when you don't have a good argument, you start attacking the character, and it becomes personal, right? You're not debating the issues anymore. Joab, there aren't any issues to debate anymore from David's perspective, because Abner has come and has asked for peace, and David has accepted him, and they've broken bread together, and he sends him away. But for Joab, it's personal. But I wonder if Joab also, I think it is personal, but to look at it, I wonder, I think Joab thought he knew better than David. I mean, when he shows up and he says, What have you done? Abner came to you. Why is it that you sent him away and he is already gone? Do you not realize that Abner the son of Ner came to deceive you, to know you're going out and you're coming in, to know that all that you are doing? You know, if you're a soldier, if you're a person in authority, does that make sense? And I think the answer to that is, yeah, that may make sense. That, what Joab is saying. But that's not David's view on things. And Abner is asking for peace. But I think Joab, it's like, Joab, you're not the king, dude. You're not the king. But I think he thought he knew better than the king. And a lot of times that's how people are. They think they know better than the king what to do. And so they resort to whatever tactics they resort to, because they think they know better than the king. Joab, why did you kill him? When David, the king, sent him away in peace. I think It's personal, but also he thought he knew better. But another option is that may just be how Joab was. Look back, and that's why I wanted to read that last verse. When David says, these sons, and he's talking about Joab. He's talking about Joab along with Abishai, is who he's talking about. And he says, they are too harsh for me. I'm just curious what the other translations. New American Standard, don't you hate it when it does that? They are too difficult for me. New American Standard. King James, they are too hard for me. English Standard, they are more severe than I. The word there, let's see what it is. Severe, cruel is the word. But as you think about it, why are people that way? Sometimes that's just who they are. I was talking with someone about this subject, and this person who follows along with the videos, they're talking about when Agag is brought back, and they had killed man, woman, child. They had killed the women and the children. Had no compassion, and this person's point was they're just bloodthirsty. Now, why didn't they kill Agag like they were supposed to? Samuel's going to, but they had no problem killing women and children. And it's just they're just bloodthirsty. And that's just how some people are. Do you remember when before Jacob dies, he calls his sons, and you have prophecies being made. But concerning, I think, two of the sons, he talks about how cruel they were. And he says, for in their cruelty, they hamstrung an ox, and they had shed innocent blood, or something along those lines. But they were just cruel. They were cruel to animals. And there's, by the way, a proverb about that, about a good man sees to the life of his animal. But they were just cruel. And that's just how some people are. They're just cruel. And I think that's how Joab was. He's just cruel. He's just bloodthirsty. He's just all of those things. And to think about a modern day phrase, I don't know if you'd say sociopathic or what. But some people are just hateful. Some people are just thirsty for blood. And then they get called out on it, and they say, "Oh no, you mean me? Yeah, you." And that's Joab. He's just bloodthirsty. And David says, they're too harsh for me. That yes, they were mighty men of valor. They were soldiers, and David needed soldiers, but David did not need this. But that's Joab. Why kill him? It's personal. It's personal. He thought he knew better, and maybe that's just how he was. Anyway, again, these are they're sad accounts, a lot of bloodshed. But I hope we can make applications in our own lives and learn from them, positively and negatively. So, hope you have a good day. Appreciate you following along in our daily meditations as it is. Hope you have a good day. Hope you join us for our next study.